Here's 10 little shots that make the game a lot more straightforward to play and an exact guide on how to play each one. This is Break From Life. Welcome back, and if it's your first time watching one of our videos, then it's fantastic to have you here. I've realised recently that there are some shots that even good snooker players either don't know about or don't know how to play. You're unlikely to need to be able to play more than one of these shots a frame, but they're the sort of shots you really want to get right when they come up. Some of them are incredibly straightforward, the sort of shots that anybody will be able to play once they've been given the right idea. Others are advanced shots that will require you to be a good cueist before you even attempt them, but most are somewhere in the middle. Simply knowing these shots can really help your game in tricky situations because it only takes one thing going wrong to end a break. But what if you could turn a negative into a positive? What if you had some simple answers for some difficult situations? Something that can really improve your snooker on shots like this one, where instead of looking at it like I'm snookered on the brown, I can go down and play the shot like I'm very nearly in perfect position. And this is exactly what these shots will help you do. And this is a great example of that, the cocked hat double, where we're trying to play the black round 3 cushions like that and get it to go in that middle pocket. A lot of players have heard of this shot, but few know how to play it. So let me start off by saying this is just a terrible way of playing safe. If you miss it, it's incredibly likely you'll leave the ball you're playing over a pocket, but it's sometimes a good way to keep a break going and finish off a game. So how to play it? If the object ball's level with a black spot, then a dead straight shot from halfway between the pink spot and the middle pocket is the perfect angle to get very close to making this shot. Try to use this as a rough guide so you'll know to start off with whether or not this shot is on, and if it is, you can work out how to adjust the angle. Ideally you want to play this very firm so there's no chance of it sticking over the corner pocket. But what can you do if you pot along red and the cue ball finishes here, for example? I mean, ideally you'd like to play a snooker, but it's difficult to play a very delicate touch shot from all the way back here. Instead, give this a try. Take your average sized snooker cue and place it flat on the table. Then move it underneath the cue ball, as close as you can get to it without it actually touching. Hold the cue near the end and lift it fairly aggressively off the table and complete the delicate touch shot. This technique makes it very easy to control simple touch shots like this. But obviously it won't work if other balls or the side of the table get in the way, but don't worry, I've got another way of playing these very delicate shots coming up later. It's not just about getting snookers, it's about getting out of them as well. Now most players will have heard of a swerve shot, but few will know how to take full advantage of this shot. To start off with, you need to work out which way you're going to swerve round. On this shot, for example, it's easiest to swerve around the left-hand side of the black, so we're going to play it with right-hand side. The next thing to think about is cue elevation. Ideally, you want to be using as little as possible, and on a longer shot like this one, you can do. When it gets to a shorter shot like this one, I need my cue to be nearly vertical to get the spin I require on the ball. But where do you strike the cue ball? Well, to get around the right-hand side of the black here, I'm going to be hitting it as far to the left as I can without risking a miscue. But when I haven't got so much time to get the cue ball round the object ball, I'm striking it here with some backspin as well. This will force the cue ball to slow down and spin more aggressively to the left in a shorter space of time. Ultimately, this will make it harder to keep you safe and result in you getting a greater number of chances. And there's a very good chance you'll find skip 3R4 somewhere near Stafford in the UK. But what can you do if you finish on a shot that just doesn't quite go? Well, this is what happens if I play the yellow dead straight along the bulk line. It comes back near enough in a straight line. However, if I play the shot again full ball, this time with right hand side, I spin the yellow away to the left. And if I play it with left hand side, I flick it away to the right. So here's how you pot a shot that doesn't quite go. To start off with, you need to work out if you need to play it with right or left hand side. We need to play the shot with right hand side if we want to pot it. Then you need to imagine you're just playing the shot with right hand side. Don't worry about swerving it around the ball, don't worry about it changing direction. If you just go to play this as a shot or a standard shot with right hand side, then you'll just have no problem potting the ball. It's actually very difficult to work out exactly what's going to happen with the path of the cue ball, so instead don't worry about this, just play it as a regular shot with side spin. And you find it's actually a lot more straightforward than you think. So just being able to play an ordinary shot with side will mean you're out of position slightly less often. The next shot is the Masse shot, by far the hardest shot to play on the list. What I'm going to do is spin the cue ball out in this direction and get the cue ball to spin back on the cloth with backspin and strike the red. I can't even get my bridge hand on the table to play this shot, and my cue is very nearly vertical to play this. I'm using backspin and a little tiny tracer right hand side to make it move to the right and not come back the way it came. It looks good until you see Jimmy White play the same shot. Notice he's got his bridge hand against his body here, keeping it more stable and allowing him to strike the ball more accurately. To generate the spin, you need to push through the cue ball, but also pull it back slightly in this direction to mimic what I'm doing with my thumb here. This squeezes the cue ball between the tip and the cloth and results in the generation of greater spin. But this is an incredibly difficult shot that only the greatest players in the game are able to master. The next shot has a story behind it. It was 1998 when everything was still in black and white. I went to play a shot with the rest in my local club when I couldn't quite reach it because there was a ball in the way. The light meter was about to run out, the spider was on the other side of the room, so I quickly found a way to lift up the rest so I could bridge over the pink and play the shot. It was a little bit wobbly, but I was able to pot the ball I was playing, and I went home and didn't really think any more about it. Soon after this I noticed Mark Williams playing the shot on TV, and this actually gave me the confidence to give it a go again. I should point out, like a lot of the other shots that Mark Williams plays, there's absolutely no point to it, and the only time I've needed to play it is when the club I was playing at didn't actually have a spider. But here's how you play it. You hold your hand underneath the rest. The further back your hand is, the higher the rest will go. You then anchor your elbow on the base of the rest to keep the other end in the air. Once you get the rest in the right place and at the right height, it's actually a surprisingly stable shot. You're probably never going to need to know how to play this, but once you get to the position where your opponent needs snookers, it's actually quite a fun little shot to play. Henry Heeson is from Hatfield Woodhouse in the UK. The next shot is all about how side reacts on the cloth. I'm aiming for the red here, but the side spin drags it over towards the yellow. However, when you play down the table in the opposite direction, the cue ball starts to spin in the other direction. This is because at a slow speed, the side spin reverses on the nap. English billiards players use this effect to help the cue ball hug the cushion so they can play easier in-offs. The right hand side in this case pulls the cue ball into the cushion, helping it to run along it into the pocket. But this shot isn't just effective in helping you get in-offs in billiards, it can also help a lot in snooker as well. Here the white's touching the red, so I'm going to use right hand side on this shot to get the cue ball to spin back to the left round the green and get the snooker. It's also possible to play into the reds and keep the side spin on it to get the cue ball to spin round a bulk colour, though this is a very difficult shot to play successfully. However, a shot that differs in difficulty is this one, where you use a cannon to pot another ball. You'll see this shot played most often when there's a ball over the pocket. Sometimes it'll be easiest to just play a plant onto this shot, and sometimes it'll be simpler to just play the cannon. You've just got to decide what's the best shot to play depending on the situation you find yourself in. Sometimes the cannon is the easiest shot to play, but it can be more risky because you don't really know where the cue ball's going to finish after you play the shot. But you just need to be aware of it, because sometimes it will allow you to play a shot that just seems absolutely ridiculous. I showed you how you can jump the object ball in a previous video, but never really explained how to do it. Now, there are reasons you never see this shot played. To start off with, I don't think it's even a shot that players are aware of. Nextly, you need a very bizarre set of circumstances for it to even be on. To start off with, the object ball has to be the right distance from the ball you're going to jump over, because if it's all the way back here, there's no way you're playing the shot, and if it's too close like this, then you're just simply going to hit the blue on the way over. So you've got to be about there for it to even be on. Next, you need the cue ball in the right place, and there's no way that you're going to play position there, because the shot doesn't go. You play over this side. So the only real time that you're going to get this shot is when you come to the table and your opponent's left you in this position. So the next problem you have is you need to be straight behind it at about this distance. If you're back here, again, you won't be able to play it. Too close, you won't be able to play it because you'll double hit the white. And again, at an angle, you won't be able to play it. The only way you'll be able to play it is if the cue ball finishes exactly here. But how do you play it? Well, to start off with, you need your cue at an angle slightly greater than 45 degrees. Any more or less than this and you won't cause the object ball to jump. It also won't jump unless you strike the cue ball between half a tip above and half a tip below the centre. Ideally though, you want to strike it half a tip below the centre because the more backspin you can get on the cue ball, the more likely it is to stay on the table. Just remember, this is a dangerous and very inconsistent shot. Sometimes it will come off and sometimes it won't. I first explain it in Snooker Shots. You need to see the video in the card right now and on the Break From Life channel page, along with a load of other videos to help you dominate at the game and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel, which is hopefully exactly what Red X Black from Tirana, Albania has done. I said earlier I'd show you another way to play a close range touch shot. So this is the miscue shot. You can play this little touch control shot almost anywhere on the table just by playing the tip of your cue to miss most of the cue ball. This can help you play snookers and keep the game safe. To play the shot well, you want to line it up at a 70-degree angle to which you want the cue ball to go, and it works best when you try to strike the cue ball with about a quarter of your tip. This little trick can help you out in some tough situations, but our snooker aiming practice trick can help you out in all situations. And if you want to improve your cueing, then why not try our videos Snooker Straight Cueing Exercises to Improve. And remember, don't just watch, play. And make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.